These stories could happen to you too. The shadow of the cursed village. It was midnight. The wind howled as it swept through the stone-paved paths of the abandoned village, while the moonlight filtered through the mist, falling over the dilapidated houses. Each window was dark, doors rusty and half open. It seemed as though a mysterious invitation was coming from within. Burak carried his camera over his shoulder, his trembling hands capturing photos of the old stone houses. He had parked his car at the village entrance, where a rusted sign barely readable in red letters warned, "Keep away, this village is cursed." Burak smiled to himself, but deep down, he felt a chill. A village without a curse? What nonsense, he muttered. But he did not slow his steps. As he walked along the stone paths, the moonlight reflecting off broken windows and mossy walls cast strange shadows in his photographs. At first, he thought it was an optical illusion, but as he progressed, the shadows began to move. His heart raced. Amid the whistling wind, a whisper came from afar. "Do not go." In that moment, Burak realized that this village was not merely abandoned. Something was alive here, watching him. He gripped his camera tightly and took another step. At the center of the village stood an old stone well, surrounded by strange markings and broken stones. Burak took a photo, and suddenly, the stones at the edge of the well shifted, and a dark figure shot upward. He tried to follow it with his eyes, but the figure seemed to merge with the shadows and vanished. In the middle of the village, the door of an old house creaked open. From within, a pale, thin voice called, "You were meant to come here." Burak froze, torn between curiosity and fear. As he stepped inside, his eyes gradually adjusted to the darkness. The walls were covered in old writings and strange symbols, some drawn in pencil, some seemingly in blood. The heavy, damp air made breathing difficult. Suddenly, a shadow appeared in the middle of the room. It resembled a human form, but it had no face, just an empty void of darkness. Burak stepped back, but his feet felt glued to the floor. "Why have you come here?" whispered the shadow. The voice did not reach his ears. It echoed directly in his mind. Panicking, Burak lifted his camera and took a photo. The light from the camera shattered the shadow. It broke into small, dark fragments, scattering across the room, and silence fell. But it was short-lived. Footsteps echoed in the house, following his own as if mimicking him. Doors opened one by one, yet there was no one inside. Returning to the well, Burak realized it was not as it had appeared in his photos. Looking inside was impossible. The darkness seemed infinite. A voice emerged from above. "You cannot leave." Burak tried to flee, but the stones shifted beneath him, and the paths seemed to change on their own. Fear, curiosity, and helplessness combined, making his body feel paralyzed. Throughout the night he wandered the village streets, each step drawing him deeper into darkness. Shadows from the walls, whispers rising from the stones, and distant murmurs trapped him between reality and nightmare. Inside the houses, ceilings and floors seemed to whisper the dark secrets of the past. In a basement, he discovered an old diary detailing the village's horrifying history. Centuries ago, a curse had been placed upon the village. The shadows trapped the souls of the living. Every generation, the curse chose a curious soul to punish. As Burak read, he understood that the shadows were not merely observers. They actively played games, manipulating reality. His own footsteps echoed, but in the pauses, the shadows whispered in his mind, "You are here now." Fear peaked. Burak wanted to escape, but the paths would not allow him. The camera was no longer a tool. It had become a window calling forth the shadows. Every photo he took strengthened the village's curse, imprisoning his soul. When the first light of dawn appeared, the village remained silent, But Burek had vanished. Beside his car, only his camera remained. On its screen was a single photo. Burek's face had disappeared, replaced by a deep, dark void. The village's silence, the wind's whisper, and the dance of shadows would echo in his mind forever. And so, the village continued to hide a new secret, waiting for the next curious soul.
What waits behind the door, you'll discover in the next video.